The night my son's bride slapped me at their wedding. A phone video and a folder of bank records made sure she couldn't lie about it. Within minutes, my advisor Marcus Ellison had cancellation papers ready. $4,500 monthly transfers stopped, their lease guarantee revoked, and the wedding guarantee pulled like a tablecloth from under their perfect little life. And when Marcus said the totals out loud, $162,000 in support and $53,000 for that wedding, people gasped like the room had run out of oxygen. My glasses hit the floor and snapped. My cheek burned hot, and my stomach went ice cold so fast I thought I might throw up in my clutch. Back in November 2022, I was wiping down my kitchen counter when Derek texted, "Mom, Bree wants to come by after brunch. Don't stress," like I'm some kind of fragile houseplant. So I did what I always do. I made coffee. I put out the little plate of grocery store cookies. I straightened the throw pillows nobody sits on. And I told myself, just be happy he's happy. The doorbell rang, and before I even got the chain off, Derek barreled in with that big, eager grin. Bree followed right behind him, like she owned the hallway already. Perfect hair, perfect nails, perfect white coat that probably cost more than my monthly HOA dues. And she didn't say hello first. She looked past me, straight into my condo, like she was taking inventory. That was the first time I felt it, this tiny, sharp sensation in my chest. Not fear, not anger, something colder, like a warning light. Don't beg to be liked. Don't hand them your throat. Bree finally smiled, all bright teeth and no warmth, and said, "Oh, wow, it's cozy." Cozy. In Lincoln Park. In a place Derek used to brag about to his friends when he was a teenager because his mom had a cool view. Now it was cozy, like I was living in a dollhouse I should outgrow. Derek laughed like it was cute. Mom loves it here. Bree drifted toward my living room window, peering down at the street like she was judging the cars in the lot. "Do you still drive?" she asked, like I'd confessed to riding a horse to work. I said, "I drive, I work, I pay my bills, same as always." Her eyes flicked to my Camry keys on the counter. "I just mean, a woman your age, you don't need to be doing all that." Quote, and my Derek nodded, like she'd said something wise. That was the first twist of the knife. Not Bree being rude. I've met rude people. It was my son letting her be rude and calling it love. I served coffee, and Bree kept wandering. She peeked into my spare room, my little office space, with a bookshelf and a chair I read in, and said, "This could be a nursery someday." I nearly dropped my mug. "Excuse me?" She didn't blink. "I'm just saying. It's a lot of space for one person." It said, there it was. Not concern, not curiosity. The first little grab. My home wasn't my home to her. It was space. And space, to people like Bree, is always up for taking. I tried to keep it light because I was still pretending this was normal. Well, Derek grew up coming here. I like having room for family. Bree's smile tightened. Family is exactly why I'm thinking about you, Sharon. Thinking about me. Like I'm a project. Derek said, "Mom, Bree just wants you safe." Safe. That word showed up a lot after Bree arrived in my life. Safe became the wrapping paper for every demand. Concern is a costume, and some people wear it like a uniform. Over the next few months, the comments turned into a routine. Bree would forget to invite me to things, then act shocked when Derek told her I felt left out. Bree would comment on my clothes always. Practical, always simple, like being comfortable was a character flaw. And Derek, my own kid, started repeating her phrases back to me like he'd rehearsed them in the car. "Mom, maybe you should think about downsizing." "Mom, you don't need so much space." "Mom, Bree found a place that's more appropriate." Appropriate. That was another favorite. One night, Derek came over without Bree, and I could tell he was bracing himself like he was about to fire me from a job. He sat on my couch and didn't take off his jacket. That's how I knew. He wasn't there to visit. He was there to deliver something. He said, "So?" Bree's lease is ending soon. I blinked. Okay. And my building raised rent again. It's crazy out there, Mom. I waited. I didn't help him. I've learned that if you stay quiet, people show their hands faster. He finally said it. We were thinking, maybe it makes sense if you move. We could use a bigger place, and you could get something smaller, safer. There it was again. Safe. I set my mug down carefully so my hands wouldn't shake. Move where? He shrugged like details were my job. There are senior communities. Bree's mom found brochures. Brochures. Already printed. Already planned. My skin crawled. So, this is decided? Derek lifted his palms. No. It's a conversation. A conversation where the brochures are already on the table. I said, Derek, this is my home. He sighed like I was being difficult. Mom, you don't even need the second bedroom. End quote. I stared at him. You needed it plenty when you were growing up. He looked away. That's what he did when he knew he was wrong. He'd look away and hope the moment passed. Silence is a choice. And he was choosing it. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, I'm not moving. And he left like I'd slapped him. A week after that, Bree stopped pretending. She started calling my condo the condo, like it was an object, not the place where I kept my life. At dinner one night, she leaned over her salad and said, We're just thinking long term. You'd be happier without stairs and stress. I live on one floor. She knew that. But the details didn't matter. The story did. Then she dropped the real line, nice and casual. Plus, privacy is important for newlyweds. My fork paused midair. Privacy from what? She laughed. From you being right there, like I'm some kind of noise problem. Derek chuckled too, like it was playful, like it wasn't cruel. I went to the bathroom and locked the door. I stood over my sink and stared at myself in the mirror. And I said out loud, You are not crazy. Because that's what it starts to feel like. Like you're overreacting. Like you're the problem for noticing what's happening. You don't need permission to protect yourself. You just need nerve. Here's the part I didn't tell Derek and Bree back then. I'd been quietly paying a lot of their grown-up bills for a while. Not because they asked. Because Derek would call with that strained voice and say, Mom, I'm short this month. And I'd say, Okay, baby, I'll help. He'd swear it was temporary. He'd swear it was just until he got a bonus. He'd swear Bree didn't even know, and I wanted to believe him. So I'd send money through Zelle, I'd cover insurance gaps, I'd pay a credit card here, a car repair there. I kept it private because money changes how people look at you. And I didn't want to be looked at like a target. Quiet help, quiet love, quiet enabling. I was playing soft because I thought I was keeping the peace. Turns out I was just making it easier for them to take bigger bites. That winter, Bree invited me to lunch near Oakbrook Center, some bright, loud place where every table felt like a stage. She showed up 15 minutes late and acted like I should be grateful. She slid a glossy booklet across the table like it was a gift. I found this adorable community. I didn't touch it. What is that? A senior living place. It's really nice. They have activities and, security. There it is. Security, safe, concern. I asked, How much is it? Bree didn't even hesitate. Only $2,500 a month. Only. I laughed. One sharp little sound. Only $2,500? She blinked, like she didn't understand why that was insane. Well, if you sold your place, you'd be fine. So she said it, out loud. Sell my condo, my home, my anchor. And I finally looked her dead in the face and said, You are very comfortable making plans with my life. Her smile hardened. I'm comfortable being realistic. Realistic. That's what greedy people call themselves when they're cornering you. That lunch ended with Bree sighing dramatically and saying, I just don't want you alone when things start happening. Things. Like what? Dementia? Falls? Death? She didn't say it. but she let the implication hang there like smoke. I drove home, gripping my steering wheel so hard my knuckles went pale. And when I pulled into my building's garage, I sat in my Camry for a full minute before getting out, just breathing, just listening to my own heartbeat slow down. Because I could feel it building now, not a disagreement, a plan. A plan that didn't include my consent. And then came the first real proof by accident. One Saturday, Derek asked if he could stop by and grab some childhood photos for their wedding slideshow. I said sure. He has a key. I've never locked my son out of anything. He showed up with Bree, even though he hadn't mentioned her. And while Derek went digging through boxes in my closet, Bree wandered again, same as the first day, same inspecting eyes. I stepped into the kitchen to pull out a tray of iced tea. And that's when I heard Bree's voice drift down my hallway. Low, quick, careless. She's so naive, Bree whispered into her phone, and I froze with the tea sweating in my hands. If we play it right, we can stay there. Derek's almost got her there. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like I missed a step on stairs. Bree kept talking. No, she won't do it willingly, but we can make it happen. My dad said there are ways. Ways, not talk to her, not convince her, ways. I backed into my kitchen like I'd been burned. I set the tray down, silent, and my hands started shaking. Not from fear, from rage. They weren't asking, they were plotting. They didn't want safety. They wanted my keys. And I was done being polite about it. I didn't confront her right then. I know how that sounds. But look, when someone shows you their real face, you don't scream. You take a picture. You save it. So I waited, I watched, I listened, and I called Renee Watkins, my realtor friend, the next morning. Renee answered on the second ring, cheerful as always. I said, Renee, I need you to check something for me, quietly. Her tone changed instantly. What's going on? I told her, my son and his fiancée are pushing me to move. I think it's about money. I need to know how desperate they are. Renee didn't ask why. She just said, give me their names and the address. I'll see what I can find. 2 days later, Renee called me back while I was at work. Yes, I still worked. I liked working. Bree could choke on that. Renee said, Shay, it's not good. My throat went tight. How not good? She lowered her voice. They're behind on rent, like eviction notice behind. And there's a ton of credit card debt. The wedding? It looks like it's being floated on credit. I leaned against a shelf of vases and tried to steady my breathing. How much? Renee exhaled. At least 50 grand, maybe more. And that's just what's visible. So that's why my condo mattered. They weren't dreaming of a future. They were trying to patch a sinking ship with my life raft. Debt makes people desperate. Desperate people get dangerous. And then came the ambush dinner. Derek invited me to his place for a family talk, which already told me everything. Bree's parents were there when I walked in, her mom with a tight smile, her dad with that look men get when they think they're the authority in a room they don't own. There was a folder on the table, a literal folder. Like I was in trouble at school. Bree's mom patted my arm. Sharon, we're just worried about you. Worried about me? Sure. Bree's dad leaned forward and said, we've been running numbers. Of course they had. He tapped the folder. A nice community is about $2,500 a month. You'd be safer. And selling your condo would set everyone up properly. Set everyone up properly. That phrase made my skin prickle. Derek sat beside Bree, stiff as a statue, eyes on the table. And then Bree's dad said, real casual, if this becomes difficult, there are legal options. Sometimes families have to step in. Legal options. My heart started pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I looked at Derek. Are you threatening me? Derek's jaw worked like he was chewing guilt. He didn't say no. He just said, Mom, please don't make this harder than it has to be. That was it. That was the moment. Not the slap. Not the wedding. This dinner. Because my son sat there, while another man suggested taking my life apart through the courts, and Derek didn't shut it down. I stood up so fast my chair scraped. You all should be ashamed. Bree's smile vanished. Sharon, don't be dramatic. Dramatic. That's what they call you when you don't lie down. I walked out, got into my Camry, and my hands were trembling so badly I had to sit there for a minute before I could even turn the key. And that's when I called Marcus Ellison. Marcus wasn't family. He was worse for them. He was professional. He was the kind of man who reads fine print for fun and doesn't get swayed by tears. He answered and said, "Shay, you okay?" I said, "No, I need you to prepare everything." There was a pause. Everything? I swallowed. They just implied they'll try to say I'm not competent if I don't hand over my home. Marcus's voice went flat. All right, we're done playing. He told me to document everything. Save texts. Write down dates. Take photos if anything physical happened. And he said the sentence I still hear in my bones. Don't warn them. So I didn't. I kept showing up. I kept smiling. I let Bree keep thinking she was winning. Because sometimes the best move is letting someone get comfortable before you pull the floor out. Fast forward to May 2025 wedding day. Oak Brook. Fancy venue. Tall centerpieces. The kind of place where the napkins are folded like little sculptures. I showed up in a simple navy dress, my thin metal frame glasses, my black purse that's seen better days. I could feel eyes on me, like people were trying to figure out where I fit in Bree's picture. Bree floated around in white like a movie star. Derek looked exhausted in his tux, like he'd been running from consequences for months. The ceremony happened. People clapped. People cried. Bree's parents beamed like they'd closed a deal. And then came the reception. Music loud, lights low. Everyone drinking. Everyone filming little clips for their stories. Bree cornered me near the sweetheart table while Derek was off talking to groomsmen. She smiled sweetly and said, "So, the keys." My stomach clenched. "What keys?" She tilted her head like I was slow. "To your condo. Derek said you were being stubborn. We need them. Need them. Not want, not hope, need." I said, "No." Her smile twitched. "Sharon, don't do this today." I leaned in and kept my voice calm. "You don't get my home because you wore a white dress." Bree's eyes flashed. "You're selfish." And just like that, the room around us started to notice. Bree's voice had risen. People were looking. Phones were already angled. Derek hurried over, face tense. "Mom, what's happening?" Bree snapped. "She won't give us the keys." Derek's eyes darted between us. "Mom, can we talk about this later?" Later. Always later. Always when it was convenient for them. I said, "No. Not later. Not ever." And Bree actually reached for my purse like she could just take what she wanted. I jerked back. "Don't touch me." Her face twisted, and she hissed, "That's what you get for being so selfish." Then her hand swung. A sharp crack. My glasses flew off my face and hit the floor. I felt the burn on my cheek a second later, like my skin remembered to hurt after my brain caught up. The music kept playing for a beat, then faltered. People gasped. Someone said, "Oh my God." Aiding. Derek stood there. He didn't grab her. He didn't check on me. He didn't say, "What the hell is wrong with you?" He just froze. And that silence, my son's silence, was louder than the slap. You don't unsee betrayal. You don't unfeel it either. I bent down, hands shaking, and picked up my broken glasses. One lens was cracked clean through. I could see my own face split in half in the reflection. My cheek was hot. My throat was tight. And I could feel this weird calm settling over me, like a switch flipped. Because in that moment, I stopped hoping they'd love me correctly. I stood up, looked straight at Derek, and said, "I heard the way you talked about me." His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Bree started to cry instant tears like she'd rehearsed. She's ruining our wedding. Ruining. Like my face wasn't stinging. Like my dignity wasn't on the floor with my glasses. That was the first controversial moment right there. The whole room watching and me deciding I wasn't going to swallow it. So tell me, comment below. If someone hit you in front of a room full of people, would you walk out quietly or would you make them face consequences right there? I didn't scream. I didn't slap back. I didn't give her the satisfaction. I just turned and walked out of the ballroom. Every step felt surreal, like I was floating in my own body. I got to the parking lot, found my Camry, and sat behind the wheel with my broken glasses in my lap. My hands were still trembling. And then I took out my iPhone and called Marcus. He answered immediately, like he'd been waiting for the other shoe to drop. I said, Marcus, bring the documents you know about. He didn't ask questions. He just said, where are you? In the parking lot. Stay there. I'm coming. I hung up and stared through the windshield at the venue doors. Inside, they were probably spinning a story already. Bree would be the victim. Derek would be the confused son, and I'd be the dramatic older lady who can't let go. Fine, let them talk, because this time, I had receipts. And I had reached the part where kindness stops being a virtue and starts being a liability. The slap wasn't pain, it was permission. I looked down at my cracked lens and whispered, okay. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Mom, please come back. Bree didn't mean it. We can fix this. Fix this. Like it was a stain on a tablecloth. And that's when I saw a headlight sweep across the lot, pulling in fast, purposeful. Marcus Ellison's car. Cut to black. Next time, I'll tell you what happened when Marcus walked into that ballroom with the cancellations in his briefcase, and why the music stopped like the truth had a key of its own. Marcus got out of his car with a messenger bag slung across his shoulder like we were about to walk into court, not a wedding reception. He didn't wave. He didn't smile. He just scanned my face through the windshield, clocked the red mark on my cheek, and his jaw tightened. I cracked my window because I didn't trust my voice yet. I'm here. I see that, he said, flat. Then he leaned in a little, eyes flicking to the broken glasses in my lap. You hurt? I'm furious, I said. Does that count? It counts, he said, and that was the first time all night I felt like I wasn't alone. He opened my passenger door like he'd done it 100 times, set his bag on the seat, and pulled out a small notepad. Start from the moment she touched you. Not the feelings, the facts. I swallowed, stared straight ahead at the dark glass of the venue doors, and forced my brain into that cold place. She demanded my condo keys. I said no. She grabbed for my purse. I pulled away. She hit me. Derek saw it? He was standing right there. Marcus nodded once. Any witnesses? I gave a little laugh that came out ugly. Half of Oak Brook, apparently. He didn't laugh back. He just said, good. We like witnesses. Then he held up my iPhone 11 with 2 fingers like it was evidence already. Unlock it. I did. My hands were still shaky, so I had to try twice. Marcus opened my messages, and there it was. Derek's text sitting like a stain. Mom, please come back. Bree didn't mean it. We can fix this. Marcus stared at it for a beat, then angled the screen toward me. This is a receipt. He just admitted it happened. I blinked. That's really a thing? It's a thing, he said. I'm taking screenshots. Date and time visible. He snapped 3 screenshots, one of the text thread header, one of the message itself, one with the timestamp. Then he emailed them to himself from my phone, right there, sitting in my Camry. My kid tried to mop up the mess in writing. People confess when they're panicking, Marcus said. Now, any prior threats? Anything about legal options? My stomach rolled again. Yes, Bree's dad. At dinner. He said families sometimes have to step in. Derek didn't stop him. Marcus's eyes narrowed. That changes the stakes. How? It shows intent, pattern, pressure campaign. He paused. And it tells me they aren't just rude. They're strategic. Strategic. That word made my throat burn because it meant this wasn't just a bad relationship. It meant my son had built a life with someone who treated me like a target. Marcus tapped his phone. Samsung. Big screen. Fast fingers. I'm calling Harold. I blinked. How? Why? Because you have the brown folder. He said it like it was obvious. Where is it right now? In my condo. Bottom drawer of my filing cabinet. End quote. Marcus looked at me for half a second like he wanted to scold me for not having it in the trunk. Then he dialed. Hal answered on speaker with that Chicago warmth. Hey, Shay. Marcus cut in. Polite but sharp. Harold, it's Marcus. Are you home? Hal's tone changed instantly. Yeah. What's wrong? Marcus said, I need you at Shay's Lincoln Park condo. Tonight. Grab her brown folder from the bottom drawer of her cabinet, lock the place up, then meet us. Hal didn't ask why. He just said, okay. Where are you? Oak Brook. Parking lot. Wedding venue. There was a pause, and Hal let out a slow breath, like he'd just taken in the whole situation without being told. Lord, all right, I'm on my way. Marcus ended the call, tucked his phone away, and looked at me. Do you want police? The question landed heavy. I looked at my cheek in the rearview mirror, red, starting to swell. I looked at my broken glasses. I looked at the venue doors, and I thought about Derek and how a police report would turn my son's wedding into a headline in our family for the next 20 years. Then I thought about Bree's hand swinging like she had rights over my body. I took a breath. Not right now. Marcus nodded. No judgment. Okay. But we still document. We still get witness names. And if she tries anything else, anything, then we stop being gentle. Gentle was over anyway. He unzipped his bag and pulled out a slim manila envelope. I brought what I could print quickly. Your last Wells Fargo statement you sent me, your Chase checking activity, and the wedding guarantee page you forwarded last month. I stared at the papers like they were radioactive. You keep those on hand? I keep everything, he said. That was the second time I felt steadier. Then, like the universe wanted to make sure I couldn't pretend anymore, my phone buzzed again. A new text. This one from Bree's number. If you don't come back in there and apologize, Derek and I are done with you. You'll never see your future grandkids. My lungs stopped working for a second. Marcus held out his hand. Let me see. I handed him the phone. He read it, face blank, then took a screenshot so clean it felt surgical. He didn't hand the phone back right away. He just looked at me over the top of it and said, There it is. What? The leverage. She's not asking for peace. She's demanding surrender. And 9. I swallowed hard. My cheeks were hot not from the slap now, from humiliation. Because part of me still wanted to walk back in there and smooth it over. I hate conflict. I always have. But Bree just put it in writing. Comply or lose your son. Marcus said, do not respond. I wasn't going to. I lied. He arched an eyebrow. I sighed. Okay, I might have. Don't, he said. Silence is your power right now. Silence can be a weapon. So can a screenshot. Marcus looked at the venue. All right, here's what's about to happen. We walk in. We don't yell. We don't argue. We go straight to Victor Morales. The manager? Yes, Marcus said. Because I want the contract and I want the payment ledger. I want to know whose name is on what, and I want it in writing. My stomach turned. You think they put me on something? Marcus gave me a look that said, Shay, please. I don't think. I assume. That made my blood run colder than the night air. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, more angry than sad. Fine, let's go. Marcus opened his car trunk and pulled out a clean pair of cheap reading glasses in a case. Try these. I blinked at him. You carry spare glasses too? He shrugged. You're not the only person with a messy family. I put them on. Everything sharpened again, and I hated how much that mattered. Like being able to see clearly made me feel like I could think clearly. We walked across the lot together. He stayed half a step behind me, not crowding, just present, protective without making me feel weak. Right before the doors, he leaned in and said quietly, "One more thing. If anyone tries to pull you into a side conversation, don't go. Stay in public." Got it. Public is safer. Private is where lies breed. Inside, the music was back, too loud and too cheerful, like the room hadn't just watched a grown woman hit her husband's mother. People turned when they saw me. Heads tilted, eyes widened. A few phones dipped down like they'd been recording and forgot to stop. Bree was at the bar, blotting her face dramatically, surrounded by her friends like she'd survived something. Derek stood near the head table, hands on his hips, staring at the floor. And the first thing I noticed before the shame, before the anger, was this. Bree's friends looked at me like I was the problem. That's when I understood she'd already started the story. Marcus didn't let me drift. He guided me along the wall, straight toward the small office door, where I remembered seeing Victor earlier. Victor Morales opened the door a crack, saw me, then saw Marcus. And his eyes did that quick calculation thing managers do when money is involved. "Miss Caldwell," he said, cautious. "Are you okay?" I held my chin up. "I'm fine. I need to talk about the contract." Victor's mouth tightened. He glanced past me toward the ballroom like he didn't want to be caught in the crossfire. "Now?" Marcus slid a business card between his fingers like it was a badge. "Now is perfect." Victor hesitated, then opened the door wider. "Come in." The little office smelled like printer, toner, and stress. Victor waved us to 2 chairs. Marcus didn't sit. He said, "We need a copy of the signed agreement, the invoice history, and any guarantees." Victor blinked. "I'm not sure I can." Marcus cut in, still calm. "You can. Because Sharon Caldwell's name is on at least one of these documents, and she has a right to see what she signed." Victor's face went pale. That was my first real clue we were about to learn something I didn't want to know. Victor cleared his throat. "Just a moment." He turned to a file cabinet, pulled out a folder, and laid it on the desk like he was placing a weapon down gently. He opened it, flipped pages, and there it was. My name. Not just as mother of the groom. Not as an emergency contact. As the financial guarantor. I stared at it, and my brain did that weird floaty thing again. Victor said quietly, "This is standard for certain packages. A guarantor ensures payment in full." Marcus leaned over, finger tracing the signature line. I recognized my signature, except it wasn't mine. It looked like my signature if you'd seen it once and tried to redraw it from memory. My stomach dropped so hard I gripped the chair. Marcus didn't touch the paper with his bare hands. He pulled a pen from his pocket, pointed at the date. "When was this signed?" Victor said, "March 18th. I wasn't even at Oak Brook on March 18th. I was in Chicago, working, then at Target off Diversey, buying detergent because my life is painfully normal." I heard myself whisper, "That's not my signature." Victor's eyes flicked between us. I was told you authorized it." Marcus's voice went ice flat. "By whom?" Victor swallowed. "Brianna Mercer and Derek Caldwell. They said you couldn't make it in person, so they brought a printed authorization." Marcus held his stare. "Show me that." Victor shuffled papers, then pulled a single page typed "neat" with a scanned-looking signature that was supposed to be mine at the bottom. It was a joke, a bad one, but it was also enough to get my name on a contract. Marcus took out his phone, photographed everything. The signature line, the authorization page, the date, the package details. Then he said, "Victor, has any money been collected under this guarantee yet?" Victor's face tightened again. "There is a balance." Marcus didn't blink. "How much?" Victor checked the ledger. $15,482. I felt my face go numb. "What?" Victor spoke faster, like he wanted the words out of his mouth so they wouldn't burn him. "We've received payments from the couple, but there were reversals, and one vendor hasn't been paid." Reversals. That sounded like credit cards that got declined. That sounded like money that was never real. Marcus asked, Whose card reversed? Victor hesitated, then pointed at the line item. Brianna's. Twice. Bree was running on fumes. On pretending. On a cliff edge. And she put my name under the fall. Family isn't who you love. It's who they sign your name for. Marcus turned slightly toward me, voice low. This is worse than we thought. I stared at the contract until the letters blurred. So, if they don't pay, Victor nodded, uncomfortable. We would pursue the guarantor, meaning me, meaning my Chase account, my paycheck, my life. Marcus exhaled through his nose. Okay, Victor, we're going to handle this correctly. I need you to print a full copy of everything in this file. Tonight. Victor hesitated. I can't just... Marcus's tone stayed polite, but something sharp slid underneath it. You can. Or you can explain to your corporate office why you pursued a forged signature. Victor's cheeks flushed. He didn't argue after that. He turned to the printer. While it whirred, my phone buzzed again. Not a text. A call. Derek. I stared at it like it was a rattlesnake. Marcus nodded once. Answer. Speaker. It's not. My mouth went dry. I hit accept. Derek's voice was frantic. Mom, where are you? Bree's freaking out. She said you're trying to ruin everything. I looked at Marcus, then at the contract with my fake signature. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I'm with Victor, looking at paperwork. There was a beat of silence so loud I could hear the music in the other room. Derek said, What paperwork? The contract, I said. The one with my name on it. Another silence. Then Derek's voice dropped, cautious. Mom, Bree said you agreed to help. Did I? I asked. He didn't answer. That non-answer did more damage than any confession. I said, Derek, did you sign my name to a guarantee? His breath hitched. It's not like that. Marcus leaned slightly closer to the phone, his voice calm enough to be scary. Derek, this is Marcus Ellison. This is exactly like that. Derek stammered. Marcus, look, this is getting blown up. Bree's dad said it's normal. It's just a form. We're paying it. Marcus didn't raise his voice. Then you won't mind if we notify the venue that the signature is disputed. Derek's tone snapped. No, don't do that. Please. Just Mom, can we talk privately? Private? Of course. I said no. Derek said, Mom, come on. Derek, I cut in, and my voice surprised even me. Your wife hit me, and you're worried about paperwork. His breath went shaky. She didn't mean. I'm not doing this, I said, and I ended the call. My hands shook after. Not from fear. From the weight of finally acting like the adult in the room. Victor handed Marcus a thick stack of printed pages. Marcus tucked them into his envelope like he just collected a bounty. He turned to Victor. One more thing. We need any emails related to this authorization. Any messages, any notes in your system. Victor nodded quickly. I can forward the email chain. Do it, Marcus said, and he dictated an email address. That was receipt number 2, a forwarded email chain from Victor's Venue account showing Bree's authorization attached, and Derek confirming, my mom said it's fine. I watched the little sent notification pop up on Marcus's screen. My cheeks burned. Because there it was, in writing. My son, putting words in my mouth. Marcus glanced at me. We're leaving, now. We stepped out of the office into the ballroom, and I swear the air felt heavier. Like the room could sense the truth was walking around with paperwork. Bree spotted me instantly. Her eyes narrowed, and she strode toward me fast, heels clicking like a countdown. She stopped inches away, smiled tight. There you are. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. Hi, Bree. Her gaze dropped to the cheap glasses on my face, and her mouth curled. Cute. Marcus stepped slightly between us, not blocking me, just present. Bree's eyes flicked to him, then back to me. Derek told me you're being dramatic. Again. I tilted my head. Is that what he told you? Her smile sharpened. Sharon, you're embarrassing yourself. I held her stare. You forged my signature. The smile didn't disappear. It froze, and that tiny freeze told me everything. Bree's eyes darted, just for a second, toward Derek. He was watching from 20 feet away like a man watching a storm from under a tree. Bree hissed, "Low, watch your mouth." "Or what?" I asked. "You'll hit me again?" Her nostrils flared. And then she did something so slick, so calculated, I almost admired the audacity. She raised her voice just enough for nearby tables to hear and said, "I can't believe you're doing this to us, after everything we've done for you." For me. Like she'd been the one paying my mortgage. Like I hadn't been quietly keeping them afloat. That's when my phone buzzed again, this time from Zelle. A notification. I stared at it, confused. I hadn't sent anyone money. Marcus leaned in. "What is it?" I opened it. A pending request for $4,500 from Derek. And the memo line said, "May support." My throat tightened. My eyes stung. He was requesting money, right now, in the middle of his reception, after his wife slapped me, after I'd just found a forged guarantee. He had nerve like I've never seen. Marcus looked at the screen and let out a quiet, humorless breath. "Well, that's bold." I turned my phone so Bree could see it. "Is this what you mean by everything you've done for me?" Bree's face flashed red. Then she snapped. "Derek didn't." "Oh, he did," I said. "It's right there." Bree spun toward Derek and barked his name, sharp enough that a couple people actually turned. Derek hurried over, sweaty and pale, eyes wide like a kid caught stealing. He glanced at my phone, then at Marcus's envelope, and his face shifted into something panicked. He said, "Mom, just ignore that. It was automatic." It re-says, end quote. I laughed once. Automatic? Like my signature? Derek's eyes filled with tears fast, like he thought that was going to stop the train. He reached for my arm. "Mom, please, can we go outside?" Bree stressed. "Everyone's watching." I jerked my arm back. Good. That word came out colder than I expected. Good. Because for once, I wanted eyes on the truth. You don't get to hurt me quietly. Not anymore. Marcus leaned toward Derek, voice low. "Derek, we have documentation that Sharon's signature was used on a guarantee without her authorization." Derek's face went slack. "That's not..." Marcus cut him off. "Don't. Not with me." Bree stepped closer, teeth clenched. "You can't prove anything." Marcus didn't even look at her. He looked at Derek and said, "Tell Victor Morales right now that you rescind the guarantee and you acknowledge the signature is disputed." Derek swallowed hard. "If we do that," Marcus nodded, "the venue can pursue you." Correct. Derek's eyes flicked around the room like he was looking for an exit that wasn't there. And then Bree did another twist. She leaned into Derek's ear and whispered something, and I watched my son's face change. Not into courage, into resentment. He looked at me and said, "So you're really doing this? You're going to throw us to the wolves?" Throw them to the wolves. As if they weren't the ones who dragged my name into it. My voice came out quiet. "Derek, you threw me first." He blinked like he'd never heard the truth, stated that plainly. Bree's eyes went glossy, again, instant tears, round and shiny. She turned slightly so the nearest tables could see her crying face. "We just wanted to start our life," she said, loud enough for witnesses. "And she hates me." There it was, the story again. The victim costume, the crowd management. And for a second, I felt that old familiar tug, "Don't make a scene, Shay." Be the bigger person. Then I remembered my cheek. Then I remembered my name on that contract. Then I remembered the $4,500 request, sitting there like a joke. Bigger person is just another way of saying quiet target. No thanks. Marcus leaned close to me. "We have enough to move. Harold's on the way with your folder. We handle the money next." I whispered, "How much more is there?" Marcus's eyes stayed on Derek and Bree as he spoke. "We're about to find out, and I don't think you're going to like it." And right then, Hal texted me, "I'm in your condo, folder secured. On my way. Receipt number 3. A simple text that felt like oxygen. I texted back with shaking fingers. Thank you. Bree tried one more angle. She stepped in close, voice low so only I could hear. If you do this, Derek will never forgive you. I held her gaze. He already didn't. Her eyes narrowed. You think you can take everything from us? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I just said, watch. I quote, Bree's face contorted, and she looked like she wanted to swing again, right there. But there were too many eyes now. So she did the next best thing. She smiled and said sweetly, okay, then we'll tell people the truth about you. I stared at her. What truth? Her smile got mean. That you're unstable. And that word unstable hit me like ice water. Because it wasn't random. It was the same threat from that dinner. The same implication. Legal options. Family stepping in. My stomach churned. Marcus heard it too. He turned his head slightly, eyes on Bree for the first time. Careful, he said. Bree lifted her chin. Or what? Marcus's voice stayed calm. Or you'll learn what documentation does to a liar. Bree's smile faltered again. And Derek, standing there between us, looked like he wanted to disappear through the floor. Hal arrived 10 minutes later, breathless, hair windblown, carrying the brown folder like it was a newborn. He spotted me, and his eyes went wide when he saw my cheek. Shay. Damn. I exhaled, shaky. Yeah. Hal handed the folder to Marcus without even asking. Marcus opened it right there, in the hallway near the bathrooms where it was quieter but still public. He flipped through like he knew exactly what he was hunting. Deed copy, HOA statements, printed Wells Fargo pages, a stack of Zelle confirmations I'd printed months ago just in case. Again, Marcus pulled one sheet out and held it up between two fingers. Sharon, he said softly, did you know you've been sending Derek $4,500 a month for 8 months? I stared at him. No. Yes, he said, tapping the page. It's coded as support in the memos. Same amount, same cadence. My throat went dry. That can't be right. Marcus turned the page so I could see it. Line after line. Zelle to Derek Caldwell. Nage, Utsaz. Zelle to Derek Caldwell. Nage, Utsaz. Zelle to Derek Caldwell. Nage, Utsaz. 8 times. I felt my knees go weak. I had to lean against the wall. I remembered helping him here and there. I remembered covering a gap. I remembered him saying it was temporary. I did not remember signing up to be their monthly paycheck. Marcus said quietly. They normalized it. You got used to it. That's how it works. That I have Hal muttered under his breath. Oh, hell no. I swallowed hard. Where did it go? Marcus's finger moved down the printout. Some of it went straight to Bree's credit card. Look, same-day transfers. And some of it went to a Wells Fargo account not in Derek's name. My heart stuttered. What? Marcus looked up at me. Do you recognize this account ending? I stared at the last 4 digits. I didn't, but Derek would. And if he didn't, that meant someone else was getting paid off my back. Marcus slid the paper back into the folder, closed it, and said, okay. Now we go from sad to strategic. I wiped my eyes hard, angry at myself for them. I feel sick. I know, Marcus said. But listen to me. You're not powerless. You're late. That's different. Late, not powerless. That landed. Marcus looked toward the ballroom, where the music thumped and the laughter sounded fake now. We stop the transfers. We dispute the guarantee. We notify the venue that the signature is contested. And we do it tonight. Hal's eyes flashed. In front of everybody? Marcus nodded. In front of everybody. Because the minute we did it quietly, Bree would rewrite history. She'd say, I forgot. She'd say, I agreed. She'd say, I changed my mind. Public creates witnesses. Witnesses create consequences. Marcus handed me my phone. Open your Chase app. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped it. I opened Chase. Marcus pointed. Go to recurring transfers. There it was. A monthly Zelle scheduled to Derek. I stared at it like it was a snake under glass. Marcus said, you can stop it. Right now. My thumb hovered. And for 1 second, one pathetic second, I thought, if I stop it, he'll hate me. Then I remembered Bree's text about never seeing my future grandkids. Then I remembered my fake signature. Then I remembered my son watching me get slapped. I hit cancel. Done. My stomach flipped, and I felt a strange relief crawl up through the nausea. Marcus nodded once. Good. Cold line number 1. Mercy ends when fraud begins. He looked at Hal. Now we need one more thing. Any mail at Shay's place that looks opened or missing? Hal's face tightened. Actually, yeah. Her mailbox was kind of a mess, and there was a change of address notice tucked behind the flyers. My blood went cold. A what? Hal dug into his jacket pocket and pulled out a crumpled USPS slip. This. I wasn't sure if you did it. I stared at it. A change of address confirmation. From my Lincoln Park address. Forwarding to a P.O. box in Oak Brook. I felt like I was going to pass out. Marcus took the slip, photographed it, and said very quietly, there's your next crime. I whispered, they tried to forward my mail? Hal nodded. Looks like it. That was the worst discovery yet. Because money is one thing. Paperwork is one thing. But mail forwarding is identity, control, access. They weren't just trying to move me. They were trying to manage me like property. Cold line number 2. They didn't want me safe. They wanted me silent. Marcus looked at me, eyes steady. We're going back in. Victor's going to receive a written notice that the guarantee is disputed. Derek and Bree are going to hear it. And then we're leaving. And after that? I asked, voice thin. Marcus's mouth tightened. After that, we start pulling the thread. The Wells Fargo account, the P.O. box, any credit applications, any HOA contact changes. We see how deep they went. I nodded, even though my whole body felt shaky and old and furious. We walked back toward the ballroom, the 3 of us, like a little unit. As we approached, Bree spotted the brown folder in Marcus's hand. Her face changed. Quick. Fear, then anger, then that practiced smile again. She stepped forward like she owned the air. What's that? Marcus didn't stop walking. Documentation. Bree's smile twitched. You can't. Marcus cut her off, calm as a judge. Watch us. And then Victor Morales appeared at the edge of the dance floor, phone in hand, face tight. He looked directly at Derek and said, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear, Mr. Caldwell, we need to speak about the outstanding balance. Derek's head snapped up like he'd been slapped too. Bree grabbed his arm, nails digging in. No, not now. Victor didn't budge. Now. And the music kept playing, but the room started to hush anyway, because people can smell money trouble like smoke. Marcus leaned toward me and said, under his breath, Here we go. I swallowed, staring at my son's face, as he realized, in real time, that the floor under his perfect night wasn't solid. Cold line number 3. You can't build a life on stolen signatures. Derek looked at me like I was the executioner. Bree looked at me like I was prey who grew teeth. And Victor held his phone up, ready to show receipts. Right before Victor spoke again, Bree leaned in close to my ear and whispered, If you do this, I'll make sure Derek never speaks to you again. I turned my head slowly, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, quiet enough that only she could hear, Then he was never mine. Her smile cracked. Victor cleared his throat. And Derek, pale as paper, said, Mom, what did you do? I didn't answer him. Because Victor's phone screen lit up with the payment reversal notices, 2 declined charges under Bree's name, and 1 vendor invoice marked past due, and Victor started reading, cut to black. Next time, I'll tell you what happened when Victor said the exact dollar amount out loud, and Marcus handed him the dispute notice in front of everyone. Victor didn't bother lowering his voice, which told you everything about how done he was with the games. He held his phone at chest height, like a teacher reading a report card, and said, "There are 2 payment reversals under Brianna Mercer and 1 vendor invoice still unpaid." Bree's face went shiny with that fake cry panic again. Derek's mouth opened and closed like he forgot how words work. Victor scrolled once and then said, "The number that made the air in that room change. The current outstanding balance is $15,482. You could feel it, too, like the whole reception took a half step back. Even the DJ looked confused, hand hovering over the music controls, like he wasn't sure whether to keep playing Celebration while the bills came due. Bree snapped, loud, "That's not accurate." Victor didn't blink. "It's accurate." Marcus moved like he'd rehearsed this. He slid 1 page from the envelope clean, crisp, and deadly, and held it out. "Victor, this is a written notice disputing the guarantor's signature and authorization, effective immediately." Victor took it with both hands, eyes scanning fast. He nodded once, tight-lipped, and said, "Understood." Derek's head whipped toward me. "Mom, what is that?" I kept my voice steady, even though my chest felt like it was full of broken glass. "It's me not paying for your lies." 80. Cold line 1. I don't fund fraud. Bree reached for Victor's paper like she could snatch the truth back. Victor pulled it away without even raising his voice. "Ma'am, don't." Now Bree turned on Marcus, eyes wild. "Who even are you? You can't just walk in here and—" Marcus's tone stayed polite. "I'm the person Sharon Caldwell pays to keep her life from being stolen." And then Bree did a twist I honestly didn't expect. She swung her gaze to me, lifted her chin, and announced to the nearest tables, "She's confused. She's been confused for a while. She's not well." Not well. There it was. The threat brought right out into the open. My stomach flipped. I felt Hal stiffen beside me. Marcus didn't react like someone surprised. He reacted like someone checking off a box. Derek looked at Bree like he wanted to protest, but he didn't. His silence landed in my ribs. Again. Victor cleared his throat, still professional, still firm. "This is a contractual issue. The couple remains responsible for the balance." Bree laughed, brittle. "We're not paying that tonight." Victor's eyes narrowed. "Then we pause service until arrangements are made. That includes the bar." A low gasp rippled through the crowd. People don't care about contracts until the drinks stop. Bree's face went red hot. "You can't do that. This is our wedding." Victor didn't move. "I can, and I will." And that's when Derek finally snapped at the wrong person, of course. He turned to me, voice raised just enough to make people lean in. "So you're really doing this to us? Right now?" I stared at him. "You did it to yourselves." He shook his head hard. "Mom, please, just cover it. I'll pay you back." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was insane. He said it like I just misplaced a $10 bill, not uncovered a forged guarantee and a mail forwarding scheme. Marcus stepped in slightly. "Derek, stop." The answer is no. Derek's eyes flashed with anger, and for the first time that night, I saw the version of my son Bree had been feeding entitled, defensive. Sure, the world owed him softness. He pointed at Marcus. "You don't get to talk to me like that." Marcus didn't blink. "Then don't behave like a man who needs permission to pay his own bills." That one landed. You could see it in Derek's face, the humiliation. Bree grabbed Derek's hand and squeezed like she was steering him. Then she pivoted, voice suddenly sweet, and said to the room, "Everyone, please, just enjoy yourselves. Sharon is having an episode." An episode. My cheeks went hot, and I felt that old instinct to explain myself, to defend myself, to prove I wasn't what she said. It's humiliating how fast you can feel 14 years old again when someone calls you crazy in public. Then Marcus leaned in close and murmured, "Don't argue with a label. Hand them facts." Facts. Right. So, I did the simplest thing in the world. I lifted my iPhone and said, not shouting, just clear, Derek asked me for $4,500 tonight during his reception. A couple heads snapped toward Derek. Someone actually said, 4,000? Bree's eyes went wide, then sharp. You're lying. And 21. I held the phone up, screen facing outward, not letting anyone touch it. It's right here, Zelle request. Memo says may support. Victor's gaze flicked to the screen like a man watching a car crash and thinking about insurance. Derek lunged for my phone instinct. Panic. Hal stepped forward fast and put his body between Derek and me. Not aggressive, just solid. Hal's voice was low. Don't. Derek froze. His jaw tightened. He backed off, hands up like he was the victim now. Bree's eyes darted around, calculating, and then she did another move that made my skin crawl. She turned to one of her bridesmaids and whispered something. The bridesmaid immediately pulled her own phone out and started typing fast, eyes flicking toward me like I was a criminal. Marcus saw it too. He angled his Samsung phone slightly and started recording, quiet and steady. He didn't announce it, he just did it. Cold line 2. If they want a story, give them footage. Victor cleared his throat again. We'll need a payment plan on paper tonight, or we begin shutting down services. Bree's dad appeared out of nowhere, suit jacket open, face hard. He walked right up like he owned the venue and said, This is ridiculous. We're not doing this in front of guests. Victor held his ground. Then you should have handled it before your guests arrived. Bree's dad's eyes narrowed. Are you threatening my daughter? Victor didn't flinch. I'm informing you. It is not too. Then Bree's mom, perfect hair, perfect pearls, grabbed Bree's arm and whispered harshly, Fix it. Bree's face twisted, and she hissed back. I told you she would do this. She pointed at me like I was a fire she'd warned them about. That's when my phone buzzed again, an email notification this time. Subject line, USPS, change of address confirmation. I stared at it, heart thudding, because I knew exactly what it was. Hal had found the slip, Marcus had photographed it, and now the system email was hitting my inbox like a receipt floating down from the ceiling. Marcus glanced at my screen. Open it. I opened it with trembling fingers. There it was. Confirmation of mail forwarding from my Lincoln Park address to a P.O. box in Oak Brook. My vision tunneled. I heard myself say out loud, You forwarded my mail? Bree's head snapped toward me so fast it was almost comical. What? I held the phone up like a crucifix. This was filed. My mail to a P.O. box. Derek's face drained of color. Mom, no. No, I repeated, then explained the confirmation email. Bree's mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes went to Derek, sharp. Derek looked away. And right there, in that split second, I understood something that hurt more than the slap. Derek knew. Maybe not every detail, but enough. Cold line 3. Silence is consent with better manners. Bree recovered first. She snapped. That's fake. She probably did it herself and forgot. Victor looked uncomfortable now, like he'd walked into a different kind of mess, the kind with police reports and lawyers. His eyes flicked to Marcus like, Please tell me you're handling this. Marcus's voice stayed calm. Victor, please note, Sharon is disputing not only the guarantor signature, but the attempted mail forwarding as evidence of identity interference. Bree's dad stepped forward, face tight with anger. Identity what? Marcus looked him dead in the eye. Mail forwarding without consent is a serious matter. Now, Bree's dad turned on Derek, furious. Did you do this? Derek's face crumpled, and he blurted, It was just so the bills didn't get lost. And there it was. A confession slipped out by accident. My throat went tight. So, my bills would go to you. Derek shook his head fast. No, Mom. It was Bree said. She said it would help. Bree snapped. Don't you dare throw me under the bus. End quote. The room was fully watching now. Not dancing, not eating, watching. The DJ quietly lowered the music, like he'd seen enough reality TV to know what was coming next. Victor spoke, firm but strained. "Sir, ma'am, we need an answer about payment." Bree's dad clenched his jaw and said, "Fine, put it on my card." Bree spun on him, shocked. "Dad," he hissed. "Stop, right now." Victor nodded and started tapping on his phone like he was processing it in the system. And just when I thought, okay, at least the venue is handled, mini twist. Victor's face tightened. He looked up and said, "I'm sorry." The card declined. A sound went through the room like a wave. You know that noise people make when they're trying not to react but can't help it? Bree's dad's face went purple. That's impossible. Victor didn't argue. He just held the phone out slightly, respectful but firm. It declined. End quote. Bree's mom grabbed her purse like she was about to fight the universe. "Try mine." Victor tried, declined. Bree's jaw dropped, and for the first time all night, her mask slipped in a way she couldn't control. It wasn't tears. It was fear. Because suddenly, it wasn't just me refusing to cover them. It was reality refusing too. Marcus leaned toward me and murmured, "They're tapped out." I whispered back, "How?" He didn't answer yet. He just watched. Bree turned and barked at Derek. "Use your card." Derek fumbled his wallet out like his hands were made of rubber. He handed Victor a card, eyes pleading like he could will it into working. Victor tapped, waited, then he said, "Declined." The word hung there, loud in the silence. Bree made a small, strangled sound. Derek looked like he might puke. Hal muttered, "Oh my God," like he couldn't believe people could be that broke while throwing a wedding in Oakbrook. And then Bree did something truly nasty. She snapped her head toward me and shouted, "This is because of you." People turned fully toward me now, like she'd pointed a spotlight. Bree's voice rose higher, shaking. "You've been sabotaging Derek for years. You hate seeing him happy." I stared at her. "You hit me." Bree blinked hard, like she forgot that part was public. Then she spat. "You deserved it." The room went dead silent at that. Even the people who'd been trying to pretend nothing was happening froze. Marcus's hand tightened on his envelope. Hal's shoulders squared. Derek whispered, "Bree, stop." She whipped around on him. "No, you stop. You always let her control you." Control you. She said it like I was the puppet master, like I hadn't been the one getting dragged. Marcus stepped half a step forward, voice calm and lethal. "Victor, given the payment failures, what is your policy?" Victor inhaled, steadying himself. "If payment can't be made, we suspend the reception services and contact security." Security. That word hit Bree like a slapback. Bree swung toward Victor. "You can't throw us out." Victor's expression didn't change. "I can." And then Bree went for a different weapon. She turned toward the crowd and cried out, "Someone call the police. She's harassing us. She's not stable." End quote. I felt my stomach drop, not because I was scared of the police, but because I understood what she was doing. She wasn't trying to fix the money. She was trying to paint me as a problem big enough to distract from the money. Bree's bridesmaid, the one typing earlier, already had her phone up to her ear now, talking fast, eyes locked on me. Mini twist. They weren't just embarrassed. They were escalating. Marcus leaned in, voice low. "That's fine. We want police here." I blinked. "We do?" "Yes," he said, "because we have a disputed signature, a mail forwarding confirmation, and witnesses to assault. A report is documentation. Documentation. That word again. Heavy. Useful. My hands were shaking, but my brain was weirdly clear now. Bree wanted to label me unstable? Fine. I was about to be stable as hell with a paper trail. Hal touched my elbow gently. "You okay, Shay?" I nodded once. "I'm not leaving alone." Cold line 4. "You don't get to isolate me." While Bree's friend stayed on the phone, Bree herself darted toward the head table and grabbed her iPhone 15 Pro. I watched her fingers move fast, and I knew she was doing something: texting, emailing, deleting, calling. Marcus saw it too. He lifted his Samsung, still recording, and angled it casually. Bree caught it and snapped, "Stop filming me!" Marcus's voice didn't rise. "Stop committing things worth filming." 2. 4-3 says, Kin tax. Bree's dad grabbed Derek by the arm and hauled him toward the side hallway, like he was trying to hide him from the consequences. Derek stumbled, looking back at me with this expression that was half panic, half blame. And that's when my phone buzzed again. A chase alert. New login detected. My heart stopped. I stared at the screen. Marcus. He looked instantly. "Where?" I handed him my phone. Chase was alerting me that someone had attempted to log into my account from a device not recognized. It showed a location, ping, Oakbrook area. My mouth went dry. "They're trying to get into my bank. Right now." Marcus's face went cold. "Okay, lock it." "I don't." Marcus was already guiding my thumb. Change password. Turn on additional verification. Freeze Zelle. I did it, hands trembling, while Hal watched my back like a bodyguard. Mini twist. This wasn't just a wedding meltdown anymore. This was an active robbery attempt in real time. Cold line 5. When the mask slips, move fast. Across the room, Bree was staring at me, and I swear she looked furious that I'd reacted quickly. Like she expected me to be confused and slow. Like she expected my age to be her advantage. Not tonight. As I reset my Chase password, a text came in from an unknown number. "Stop playing games or we'll have you declared incompetent." No hello, no name. Just a threat. My blood ran cold. Marcus. He read it and didn't even hesitate. "Screenshot it. Send it to me." I did. Timestamp, number visible, everything. Hal leaned in to see. His face darkened. "Who the hell is that?" Marcus's eyes narrowed. Probably Bree's dad. Or someone close. Derek's phone rang. His iPhone 14 lit up in his hand as he stood half hidden by the hallway. He answered, turned his back, and started talking fast. I watched him, not hearing the words, but seeing the posture, the hand gestures, the agitation. It looked like coordination. Marcus watched too. "They're organizing a counter-narrative," he murmured. "And we are?" I asked, voice thin. Marcus tapped his envelope. "We're organizing facts." Victor approached again, face tight. "Security is on the way. Also, police were called." I nodded once. "Good." Victor blinked, surprised I wasn't begging him to stop. "Ma'am, this is going to be a scene." End quote. I looked right at him. "It already is." Victor pressed his lips together and nodded like he respected that. The ballroom doors opened, and 2 security guys stepped in black polos, earpieces, calm faces. They scanned, got the vibe instantly, and moved toward Victor. Bree ran to them like she'd been waiting. She grabbed one of their arms dramatically and said, "She's threatening us. She's trying to ruin my wedding." One security guy glanced at my cheek, still red, starting to bruise. He looked at my broken glasses in my hand. His eyes flicked to Bree. "Ma'am, did you strike her?" Bree's mouth opened, and for the first time, she didn't have an immediate lie. She looked at Derek. Derek stared at the floor. The security guy repeated, calmer, "Did you strike her?" Bree snapped. "I barely touched her. She was screaming at me." Hal let out a sharp laugh. "Yeah, no." Marcus held up his Samsung slightly. "I have video from the last 20 minutes, including her admitting she deserved it." Bree's face went white. Mini twist. The footage moved power again. Then the police arrived, 2 Oakbrook officers stepping into a room full of fancy dresses and frozen smiles, like they'd walked into the wrong movie. One officer asked, "Who called?" Bree raised her hand like a student. "I did. She's unstable," and the officer looked at me, then at my cheek. "Ma'am, are you injured?" I kept my voice steady. "Yes. I was struck in front of witnesses." Bree hissed, "Oh my God." The officer turned to Bree. Did you strike her? Bree started crying again, loud. She's trying to take my husband from me. The officer's face didn't change. That's not what I asked. Marcus stepped forward, respectful. Officer, I'm Marcus Ellison. I represent Sharon Caldwell in financial matters. We also have evidence of a disputed signature on a guarantor contract and an attempted mail forwarding without consent. We'd like an incident report. The officer's eyebrows lifted a fraction, like he realized this wasn't just family drama. Okay, let's separate everyone. Bree immediately grabbed Derek and tried to pull him away. Derek stumbled along, looking back at me again like he still expected me to rescue him. I didn't move. I couldn't, because I was watching something else now. Bree, as she walked, slid her iPhone behind her back and her thumb flew across the screen, deleting, or messaging, or both. Marcus saw it too. He murmured, "She's cleaning her trail." Then, in the chaos of people moving, Bree's mom brushed past me, close enough that her perfume hit like a punch, and she whispered venom soft, "You'll regret this. We'll make sure everyone knows what you are." I stared at her, stunned by the hatred in that whisper. Then her hand brushed my purse strap. Not accidental. I looked down, and my heart jerked. My purse zipper was open, cold line 6. They'll steal while they threaten. Hal saw it at the same time and snapped. Hey! Bree's mom flinched back like she'd been caught reaching into a cookie jar. I clutched my purse and felt inside. My condo keys were still there. Thank God. But my stomach turned anyway, because it meant they were still trying. Even with police in the room, even with witnesses, that's not desperation. That's entitlement. One officer approached me and said, "Ma'am, do you want to press charges for the strike?" I looked across the room. Bree was sobbing into Derek's shoulder. Derek's eyes were closed, like he was praying for escape. Bree's dad was talking fast to the other officer, hands chopping through the air, selling a story. I thought about how Derek would spin it later. Then I thought about the text threatening to declare me incompetent. Then I thought about the Chase login attempt. I took a breath. I want a report tonight. And I want to speak to my attorney about next steps. The officer nodded. Okay. Marcus leaned in, voice low, satisfied. Good answer. Bree must have heard something, because she jerked her head up and shrieked, "You're going to have me arrested on my wedding night?" I didn't raise my voice. "You hit me on your wedding night." The officer's gaze sharpened. "Ma'am, please lower your voice." Bree laughed this ugly, disbelieving sound. This is insane. Derek finally spoke, voice cracking. "Mom, please, I'm begging you." And for 1 second, my heart did that stupid thing it does. It remembered him as a kid with skin knees. It remembered him sick on my couch. It remembered him hugging me after his dad died. Then I remembered the forged signature. I remembered the mail forwarding. I remembered him standing there while she hit me. I said, very quietly, "You should have begged your wife to keep her hands to herself." End quote. Derek flinched like I slapped him with words. The officer asked for my ID. I handed it over. Marcus handed over his card. Hal offered to be a witness. Victor offered to provide the contract copies and payment history. And right when it felt like, okay, the night is contained. Mini twist. Derek's phone buzzed, and I saw his eyes flick to it. He paled even more. He turned away from everyone, walked 2 steps, and hissed into his phone, "No, don't stop." Then he hung up, looked at Bree, and whispered something that made her face change. Bree went still. Then she looked straight at me, and her tears dried up like a faucet turned off. She smiled, not warm, not nervous, confident. And she said, loud enough for Marcus to hear, "Fine. If you're doing this, then I'm doing mine." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" Bree lifted her iPhone and said, "Casual. It means you should check your door camera tonight, Sharon." My heart stopped. Because I do have a door camera. And because nobody says that unless they know something about what's waiting at your home. Hal's head snapped toward her. What did you do? Bree's smile widened just a little. Ask your neighbor. Hal's face went hard. I am the neighbor. Bree shrugged like she was bored. Then you'll see it first. When you have today, and Marcus's voice went low. Sharon, we're leaving. Now. The officer started to say, Ma'am, we still need. Marcus cut in, respectful but firm. Officer, we'll complete any statements needed, but we've just been warned about potential activity at Sharon's residence in Chicago. We're going to check on her property immediately. The officer's eyes sharpened. What kind of activity? Bree smiled like she'd won something. Oh, nothing. Just consequences. My mouth went dry. I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. Marcus grabbed his envelope. Hal grabbed the brown folder, and we started moving, fast, toward the exit. Behind us, Bree called out, sweet as poison. Drive safe, Sharon. You're not as young as you used to be. I didn't turn around. I couldn't, because all I could think was my Lincoln Park condo, quiet and dark, and somebody knowing enough about my door camera to mention it like a threat. We got out into the night air, and my silver Camry looked suddenly fragile under the parking lot lights. Marcus opened his car door and said, We go straight to Chicago. Hal was already dialing on his phone. I'm calling Tessa. She has a spare key to Shay's place, and she's closer. My stomach dropped. Tessa? Hal nodded, voice tight. If something's happening at your condo, we need eyes there now. My phone buzzed. A notification from my door camera app. Motion detected front door. I stared at the screen. Thumb hovering. Terrified to tap it and terrified not to. Then I hit play. Cut to black. Next time, I'll tell you what I saw on that door camera feed and why Marcus said, this just turned criminal. The video loaded grainy for half a second, then snapped into focus, and I swear my whole body went cold like somebody poured ice water down my spine. Because it wasn't a raccoon or some drunk neighbor at the wrong door. It was a man in a suit jacket, Bree's dad, standing right at my Lincoln Park front door like he belonged there. Next to him was a younger guy in a work polo with a tool bag, and the tool bag had one of those little key machines clipped to the side, Locksmith, clear as day. Bree's dad was holding a sheet of paper up to the camera like he wanted the lens to see it, like he was proud. Marcus leaned into my passenger window, eyes locked on the screen. Pause it. My thumb fumbled. I paused. The paper was angled, but I could make out the bold words at the top. Authorization. My throat tightened so hard it hurt. Hal, already half in my Camry door, said, Are you kidding me? And then the locksmith reached into his pocket and pulled out a key ring. I watched him test something in my lock. My lock. Marcus's voice went low and flat. Okay, that's attempted unlawful entry with paperwork theater. I didn't even hear my own voice when I said, He's at my door. I hit play again. Bree's dad pointed at the paper like he was explaining it, and the locksmith nodded and bent toward the handle again. Then my door camera caught something else. A quick movement on the right side of the frame. A neighbor. A woman with a dog. She stopped, stared, and you could see her mouth form a question. Bree's dad turned, smiled, and talked to her like he was just a helpful family man doing an errand. The locksmith shrugged like, Hey, I'm just doing my job. And that's when I realized what the plan was. They weren't sneaking in at 3 a.m., wearing masks. They were walking in at a normal hour with fake authority, banking on everyone being too polite to challenge them. Cold line 1. They don't need a crowbar when they've got confidence. Hal yanked his phone out. I'm calling Tessa right now. He put it to his ear and barked her name the second she answered. Tessa, listen to me. Shay's door camera shows Bree's dad and a locksmith at her front door in Lincoln Park. Are you near her building? I couldn't hear Tessa's reply, but I watched Hal's face tighten. Yes, Hal said. Go. Now. Do not go alone. Call the front desk. Tell them to keep the door locked. And Tessa, don't open the unit door unless you know who's on the other side. Marcus already had his Samsung up, recording my screen like a pro, capturing the camera feed in real time. "This is a receipt," he murmured, more to himself than to me. "Receipt number 1, right there, the door camera clip of Bree's dad with a locksmith at my front door." My phone buzzed again, another motion alert. Same location. Bree's dad was still there. I watched him gesture sharply, like he was getting impatient. The locksmith leaned in, tried the handle again. Then there was a new shape in the frame, my building's front desk guy, the night attendant, walking up the hall with a cautious posture. Thank God, he stepped between them and my door. Bree's dad's shoulders squared like he was about to argue. The audio on my door camera was tinny, but I could catch pieces. Family. Authorized. She's moving. Papers. Moving. That word made my stomach flip. That's what they were selling. That I was relocating, that this was normal, that this was pre-approved. Marcus said, "They're trying to get in, change the locks, and make it look like you left." I felt my fingers go numb around the phone. "Can they do that?" "They can try," he said. "But you have a building, you have neighbors, and you have a time-stamped video of the attempt." Hal leaned closer, eyes locked on the screen. "And we have to get there before they get lucky." End quote. Marcus pointed toward the windshield. "You're not driving, Shay." I opened my mouth to argue, then shut it. My hands were shaking too badly. My cheek was throbbing. My head felt full of cotton. He wasn't being controlling. He was being realistic. So yeah, Marcus drove. We piled into his car, Marcus in the driver's seat, Hal up front, me in the back with my phone clutched like it was oxygen. My Camry sat there in Oakbrook like a forgotten prop. As we pulled out, my phone rang again. Derek. I stared at his name and felt my throat tighten. Marcus glanced at me in the rear view. Answer. Speaker. I hit accept. Derek's voice was frantic and furious all at once. "Mom, where are you going?" I stared out the window at the dark highway. Home. He exhaled hard. Why is Victor saying the guarantee is disputed? People are talking. Bree's parents are losing it. Bree is what? I asked, and my voice came out quieter than I expected. Stressed? Embarrassed? Broke? Derek snapped. "Mom, stop. You're blowing everything up." I almost laughed again, that ugly laugh. "Derek, your father-in-law is at my front door with a locksmith." Silence. Then Derek said, "Too fast. That's not true." I looked at Marcus in the mirror. Marcus's eyes narrowed like, "Here we go." I said, "I'm watching it on my camera." Derek's voice cracked. Okay, maybe he's just trying to help secure your place because you're upset and you don't," I said, sharp enough that Hal turned and looked at me. "Do not start that I'm unstable mess." Derek's breathing got shallow. "Mom, you're not thinking straight. You just got hit. You're emotional." My face went hot. "You watched it happen." Derek said, "Bree didn't mean it." I said, "Your excuse is a habit." Cold line 2. If you can excuse it, you can repeat it. Marcus leaned slightly closer to the phone, voice calm and brutal. "Derek, you need to tell Bree's father to step away from Sharon's door immediately. If he doesn't, we're contacting Chicago police with video." Derek sputtered. "You can't." Marcus cut him off. "Try me." Derek's voice dropped into something meaner. "This is what you wanted, right? To punish us." I swallowed. "No, Derek. I wanted you to love me. You just made punishment the only language you understand." 80. And then I ended the call. I didn't wait for his reply. My phone buzzed instantly. Text, like a machine gun. From Bree, "You're psychotic. My dad is protecting you. You're going to regret humiliating us. You're not even fit to live alone." I stared at the screen, jaw clenched. Marcus glanced back. "Screenshot all of it." I did. Everyone. Receipt number 2. Bree's rapid-fire text calling me unfit and psychotic time-stamped in the same hour her dad was at my door. Hal muttered, "She's really leaning into that narrative." She has to, Marcus said, because the truth is expensive. We hit the Eisenhower, heading back toward the city, the highway lights streaking past like we were running from something. And the whole time, my door camera kept pinging, motion detected, like my home was a battleground and I was watching it from 100 miles away. Then the feed changed. Bree's dad stepped closer to my camera, like he was trying to block it. He raised his hand and covered the lens for a moment. My stomach dropped. He's covering the camera. Marcus's voice sharpened. That's intent. Hal leaned back to see, furious. Oh, that little. When he moved his hand away, the locksmith was gone. The night attendant stood at the end of the hall, arms crossed, not letting anyone pass. Good man. Bree's dad leaned toward him, gesturing, talking fast, probably selling the same story. And then, mini twist, the attendant pulled his own phone out. He started dialing. I let out a shaky breath. He's calling someone. Probably 911, Hal said. Marcus nodded. Let him. You want documentation from the building side, too. My phone buzzed with a call from an unfamiliar number. I stared at it. Who is this? Marcus looked. Answer it. I hit accept. A man's voice, annoyed and clipped, came through. Is this Sharon Caldwell? Yes, I said, heart pounding. This is Mike. I'm the locksmith dispatched to your address. A gentleman here says he's authorized to change your locks for your relocation. I need verbal confirmation from you. My whole body stiffened. This was the moment. The pivot. If I hesitated, if I sounded unsure, if I cried, he'd decide the man in the hallway was the adult and I was the confused lady. So I went steel. No, I said. You are not authorized to touch my locks. That man has no permission. If you attempt entry, I'll file a report and submit my door camera footage. There was a pause. Then the locksmith's voice softened slightly. Okay, understood. I'm stepping away. Just wanted to confirm. Thank you, I said, and my voice shook a little at the end. Because I'm human. He added, also, ma'am, he handed me paperwork with your name on it. It didn't feel right. If you want, I can text you a photo of what he showed me. My breath caught. Yes, please. Send me your number, he said. I immediately texted the unknown number. This is Sharon. Please send a photo of the paperwork you were shown. He sent it within 30 seconds. A picture of the authorization. It had my name, my address, a claim that I was moving to assisted living, and a signature that looked like a drunk imitation of mine. My hands shook as I zoomed in. At the bottom, in smaller print, was the line that made my blood run ice cold. Power of attorney attached. I stared at it, heart pounding. Marcus. He leaned back, took my phone, and zoomed in, eyes narrowing. Oh, Hal leaned in too. What does that mean? Marcus handed the phone back carefully, like it might bite. It means they're not just forging a venue guarantee. They're creating a legal framework to take over her decisions. My mouth went dry. A power of attorney? Marcus nodded, tight. Or they're claiming they have one. I felt nauseated. I never signed anything like that. I know, Marcus said. But someone out there may believe it long enough to cause damage. Cold line 3. A fake signature is a key that opens real doors. Receipt number 3. The locksmith's photo of the authorization referencing a POA, time-stamped, tied to the door camera attempt. I stared at my hands. They were trembling so hard I had to press them into my thighs. Hal's voice was angry and steady. This is identity theft. This is elder exploitation. This is, yes, Marcus said. This is criminal. He wasn't dramatic about it. He said it like a man reading a weather forecast. And in a weird way, that helped, because it made it feel like a problem that had solutions. We got closer to the city, and the skyline came into view like a jagged line against the night. My chest tightened. That's my Chicago. My life, my routines. And now it felt like it was under attack. My phone buzzed again, this time a message from the building attendant number I recognized. Miss Caldwell, I called police. Gentleman has been asked to leave hallway. Please confirm you did not authorize lock change. Bless that man. I texted back. I did not authorize. Thank you. Please keep any notes. Police report number if you get one. Marcus nodded. Perfect. When we acted Mark, we pulled into Lincoln Park and my stomach flipped again because everything looked normal. The trees, the streetlights, the parked cars. Normal is creepy when you know someone tried to break your life open an hour ago. Marcus parked near the building, and Hal practically unbuckled before the car stopped. Marcus held up a hand. Wait, we do this smart. I'm done being smart, Hal snapped. Marcus didn't react. He just said, smart is how we win. What? We walked into my lobby, and the night attendant looked relieved the second he saw me, like he'd been carrying the stress for me. Miss Caldwell, he said, thank God. He gestured toward the clipboard behind the desk. I wrote everything down. Time, description, the locksmith's van, the man's name he gave me. What name? Marcus asked. The attendant swallowed. He said he was Mr. Mercer, Bree's dad. Hal made a sound in his throat like he wanted to punch drywall. The attendant continued. Officers came. They told him to leave the property. He argued. They warned him about trespassing. He left. Did they give you a report number? Marcus asked. The attendant nodded and slid a sticky note across the counter. Marcus tucked it away immediately like it was gold. Then we took the elevator up, and the hallway felt different. Not because it changed, because I did. My door looked intact. My handle looked normal. My little wreath still hung crooked. But I couldn't stop imagining that locksmith key turning. The click. The swing of the door. My life laid open. Hal stood slightly to the side while I unlocked it, like he was ready for anything to jump out. The door opened. Nothing exploded. No person inside. But the air felt off. Marcus stepped in first, scanning like he'd watched too many security videos. Lights. I flipped them on. Everything looked normal at first glance. Couch, throw pillows, the little tray on my coffee table. Then Minnie twists something small. My filing cabinet drawer in the office corner was not fully closed. It was just a hair open. I froze. Hal whispered, "That wasn't like that." "No," I said, and my voice sounded far away. It wasn't. Marcus didn't touch it. He pointed. "Sharon, did you open it before you left today?" "I wasn't even home today," I said. "I went straight from work to Oakbrook." Marcus nodded, face hardening. "Okay." Hal moved to the balcony door, checked the lock. Secure. Marcus checked the windows. Secure. Then he looked at me. "We're going to document the cabinet." He pulled out his phone and started filming. Slow and steady, narrating quietly. Lincoln Park condo, May 2025. Filing cabinet drawer partially open on arrival. He filmed me stepping forward. He filmed my hand hovering before touching anything. Then he said, "Open it." My hand shook as I pulled the drawer out. My brown folder was still there, but it had been moved. It was no longer tucked under the other files. It was sitting on top, like someone had flipped through it and put it back fast. And something was missing. A thin envelope I kept in the back with my notarized documents, copies of my will, my old insurance beneficiary forms, a couple signed but blank HOA forms I never should have left lying around. I stared at the empty spot, and I felt my throat close. "Marcus," I whispered, "they were in here." End quote. Marcus's expression didn't change, but his eyes sharpened. "Which documents, exactly?" I told him, voice shaky, and Hal cursed under his breath. Marcus said, "Okay, that's the weapon." "The weapon?" Hal asked. Marcus nodded slowly. "Because a signed page, anything with her real signature, can be scanned, copied, and used to forge the rest. That's how they make fake paperwork look real." I felt dizzy. "So they've been inside." Hal's face went hard. "How?" The attendant stopped them. End quote. Marcus's voice stayed measured. Someone was inside earlier, or someone has had access for a while. My stomach dropped. Derek has a key. Silence. Hal looked at me. Do you think... I couldn't say it out loud. I just nodded. Because the truth was ugly. They didn't need to break in tonight if they'd already been letting themselves in when I wasn't home. Bree's dad at the door could have been theater. A distraction. A pressure move. Mini twist. The real damage might have already happened. Cold line 4. The break-in isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a spare key. Marcus set the brown folder on my dining table like it was a crime scene item. We're going to inventory what's here. He pulled out the Wells Fargo statements, the Zelle confirmations, the USPS slip Hal found. And then he opened the envelope pocket inside the folder I'd honestly forgotten existed. Inside was a single folded sheet I did not recognize. My heart started pounding. What is that? Marcus unfolded it carefully. It was a draft document titled Durable Power of Attorney Sharon Caldwell. I felt like the room tilted. Hal's voice was low and furious. No. No way. Marcus scanned it quickly. His jaw tightened. This is a template. It's not executed, no notary stamp. But it has fields filled in. End quote. Filled in with what? Marcus read aloud, and every word felt like a knife. Agent Derek Caldwell. Successor Agent Brianna Mercer. Authority. Financial decisions, banking, real estate. I grabbed the edge of the table because my knees went weak. This was in my folder, I whispered. Marcus didn't look up. Which means someone wanted it close to your signature. Or someone started building it here. I swallowed. They were preparing to take over my life. Hal's eyes were wet with anger. They're trying to bury you while you're breathing. My phone buzzed again. An email from my HOA portal. Subject line, account information updated. My blood ran cold. Marcus. He held out his hand. I gave him the phone. The email said, my HOA contact email had been changed, updated, a confirmation link was included. I stared at it, breath shallow. I didn't do that. Marcus's voice turned sharp. Open the HOA account, now. I logged in, hands shaking, heart racing, and there it was. My contact email was no longer mine. It was a Gmail address I didn't recognize, and the phone number listed wasn't mine either. I felt my stomach drop straight through the floor. They changed my HOA contact. Hal snapped, so they could get notices. Fees, meeting votes. Marcus nodded, eyes hard. And any mail about unit access. I felt sick. How did they log in? Marcus didn't even hesitate. They had your mail forwarded. They had access to verification codes. Or they had your password. I stared at the screen and realized something terrifyingly simple. Derek knew my usual passwords. He grew up watching me type. He'd helped set up my accounts years ago. He didn't need to hack. He just needed entitlement. Receipt number 4. The HOA email update confirmation time-stamped the same night as the door attempt. Marcus guided me through changing the HOA login, changing the email back, updating the phone number, turning on extra verification, and logging out of all devices. Then he looked at me and said, tomorrow morning, first thing, we file a police report in Chicago with the door camera footage and the locksmith's photo. We also contact the USPS fraud department about the change of address. And we freeze your credit. Freeze my credit? I echoed, dazed. Yes, Marcus said. Because if they're building a POA, they're probably building something else too. Hal muttered. Loans. Marcus nodded. Cards. Lines of credit. Anything. Cold line 5. They weren't planning a wedding. They were planning a takeover. I sank into my kitchen chair and stared at my hands. They looked old, veiny, real. It made me furious all over again, this idea that age makes you a target, that being a mom makes you soft, that loving your kid makes you easy. Marcus set the POA draft back on the table and said, this document is your turning point. How? I asked, voice hoarse. It's not signed. It doesn't need to be signed to show intent, he said. It shows direction. It shows their plan. And combined with the forged guarantee and the mail forwarding, it builds a case. I swallowed. So, what do I do tonight? Marcus looked at Hal. Change locks. Hal nodded immediately. I know a guy. Marcus looked back at me. And you're going to text Derek one sentence? My chest tightened. What sentence? Marcus said, something that stops the confused mom narrative. Something direct. No emotion. I stared at my phone. My heart was pounding. Okay. Marcus dictated slowly, and I typed, Derek, do not come to my condo. Your key is revoked. Any further attempts to access my home or accounts will be treated as trespass and fraud. I hesitated with my thumb hovering. Then I hit send. It felt like closing a door I should have closed years ago. A second later, Derek responded, just one line. You can't do this. Bree's dad already filed paperwork. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might actually throw up. Marcus's eyes narrowed. What paperwork? I showed him. Marcus didn't panic. He got very still. Okay. Hal's voice went sharp. Filed where? Marcus looked at me. Sharon, open your email search. Type Cook County and clerk and court. Anything. Remember, my hands shook as I searched. Nothing. Then my phone buzzed again, another unknown number text. We already started the guardianship process. You should cooperate, guardianship. That word hit me like a punch to the throat. Hal swore. Marcus's eyes went ice cold. He said, all right, now we're done guessing. He pulled out his Samsung and started making calls quick, controlled. I heard him say phrases like emergency injunction, protective order, elder exploitation unit, and Monday morning filing. My head spun. I whispered, is that real? Can they actually? Marcus cut in, gently but firm. They can try. And the fact they're threatening it means they've been researching it. But threats aren't orders, Shay. I swallowed, trying to breathe. So what's the next move? Marcus looked at the POA draft, then at the HOA update email, then at my door camera clip paused on Bree's dad's face. He said, the next move is we turn every one of their lies into a document. Hal nodded. Paper trail. Marcus nodded back. And we take away their access keys, passwords, mail. My phone buzzed again. A notification from my bank. Zelle, request $4,500. Derek Caldwell, resent. He resented. After my message, after everything. Like he was testing whether I'd still flinch. I stared at the request and felt something in me go very calm. Not numb, not sad. Clear. I hit decline. Then I hit block requests from this contact. Cold line 6. You don't get paid for hurting me. Marcus watched me do it and nodded once, approving, like a coach watching a player finally swing. Then Hal's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face changed. Tessa? I asked, heart racing. Hal nodded slowly, eyes wide. Yeah. She's outside the building. My stomach dropped. Why? Hal put the phone on speaker. Tessa's voice came through, shaky but controlled. Aunt Shay, I'm here. I talked to the desk. They said the guy in the suit tried to get up earlier but got stopped. But listen, there's something else. What? I whispered. Tessa swallowed hard. There's a woman in the lobby. She's saying she's your daughter. She's telling the desk, you're confused and you asked her to pick up documents. And this wail. My blood ran cold. My daughter? I don't have a daughter. Marcus's head snapped up. Describe her. Tessa's voice trembled. It looks like Bree, or someone who looks like her. Same hair, same build. She's wearing a jacket over her dress. My throat tightened so hard it hurt. Bree left the venue. She came here, or she sent someone to imitate her. Either way, they weren't done. Marcus stood up so fast his chair scraped. Hal, go to the desk right now. Tessa, do not approach her. Stay where you are. If she tries to come upstairs, you call 911. Hal was already moving, grabbing his keys. I'm going! My heart hammered. I stood up too, legs shaky. Marcus looked at me, voice low. Shay, stay in your unit. Lock your door. I stared at him. No, he held my gaze. Sharon, this is how people get baited into a hallway confrontation. I swallowed hard. He was right. I hated that he was right. So I locked my door. I stood behind it with my phone in my hand, listening like a scared teenager in my own home. And then my door camera pinged again. Motion detected. Not at the front door. At the hallway, I opened the live view. There, down the hall, was Bree. White dress hiked up in her hands, like she didn't care about the look anymore. Hair slightly messy, face tight, eyes furious. And she wasn't alone. Derek was with her. And Derek was holding something flat and white under his arm like a folder. They were walking toward my door. Cut to black. Next time, I'll tell you what was in Derek's folder and the exact words Bree said right before they tried my handle. They stopped right in front of my door like they'd done it 100 times. Bree's face was tight and shiny under the hallway light, and Derek kept shifting the white folder under his arm like it weighed 50 pounds instead of paper. Bree leaned toward him and said something I couldn't hear through the camera audio, but I watched Derek nod like a man agreeing to jump off a bridge. Then Bree stepped up to my doorknob, and she tried it. Just a quick twist, like checking if I'd forgotten to lock it. I was standing 3 feet behind that door, heart hammering, phone in my hand, with Marcus right beside me and his Samsung already up recording. The deadbolt held. Bree tried again, harder. Marcus whispered, "Don't open it." And, quote, "I'm not," I whispered back. But my voice shook anyway. Bree leaned closer to the peephole and spoke loud enough to carry through the door. "Sharon, open up. We need to talk." Need. Always need. Derek shifted behind her eyes, scanning the hallway like he knew how bad this looked. I didn't answer. Bree's voice sharpened. "Sharon, you can't lock us out. Derek has rights here." Marcus's eyebrows lifted at that, like he wanted to laugh but decided it wasn't worth the oxygen. I kept my voice low. "Do I call 911? Marcus nodded. "Yes. And you're going to say, attempted forced entry and identity fraud. Keep it clean." I dialed with trembling fingers. While it rang, Bree's voice dropped into that syrupy, concerned tone. "Sharon, I know you're confused. We brought paperwork. We're trying to help you." Paperwork. Derek lifted the folder like a shield. "Mom, please, just listen." The dispatcher answered, and my voice came out steadier than I felt. "Hi. I'm in my condo in Lincoln Park. 2 people are at my door trying the handle. One is my son, Derek Caldwell, and the other is his wife, Brianna Mercer. There have been attempts to access my home and accounts without consent. I have video." The dispatcher asked, "Are they threatening you?" Bree banged once, sharp enough to make me flinch. "Open the door." My stomach flipped. I held the phone tighter. "They're demanding entry. I'm not opening. I'm afraid they'll force it." Ewell sighed. "Stay inside," the dispatcher said. "Officers are on the way." I hung up and stared at the door like it might start breathing. Bree leaned close again. "If you don't open this door, we'll have you taken." Taken. I felt my skin go cold. Taken where? Bree's voice turned mean, and that was the moment her mask fully slid off. "Someplace safe, where you can't ruin us." That was the whole story in one sentence. Marcus whispered, "Record time." I didn't say a word. I just let her talk to my door camera like she was auditioning for consequences. Derek finally spoke, voice strained. "Bree, stop. Just let me." He stepped forward, moved Bree slightly aside, and spoke through the door. "Mom, I brought papers. It's a guardianship petition. We just need you to sign something to show you're cooperating. It'll make everything easier." I felt my chest seize. Marcus's jaw tightened. He leaned toward the door. not raising his voice, just projecting. Derek, this is Marcus Ellison. Step away from the door. Derek froze. You could see it on the camera. His shoulders jumped, like he didn't expect Marcus to be here. Bree snapped. Why is he in there? Marcus's tone stayed calm. Because Sharon called me when you assaulted her and forged her signature. Bree scoffed loud. We didn't forge anything. She's paranoid. Marcus cut her off. You tried to change her locks tonight. We have the locksmith photo. We have the mail forwarding confirmation. We have the HOA change notice. And we have your text calling her unfit. Silence. Not total, because you could still hear the elevator hum faintly and someone's TV through the wall, but the kind of silence where the people outside the door realize they're not in charge. Derek swallowed hard. Mom, please. Just open up. We can talk. I didn't move. Bree hissed. This is ridiculous. You're letting him poison her against us. Poison. Like the poison wasn't already in her hand. Then mini twist. Derek did something that made my stomach drop again. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a key. My key. He slid it toward the lock. Marcus's hand shot out not to grab the door, but to grab my phone and angle it toward the peephole, so we had my camera feed, plus his recording, plus my door camera recording, all at once. I whispered, he's going to try. Marcus whispered back, let him. The key went into the lock. Derek twisted. Nothing. Because I'd changed the interior latch earlier, Marcus had told me to flip the little inside latch after locking. Derek's key wasn't going to win tonight. Derek yanked the key out like it betrayed him. Bree's face contorted with rage. How did you? Her voice cut off when she heard something in the hallway. Footsteps. Heavy, purposeful. Then a firm voice. Police, step away from the door. Bree's head snapped around. Derek's whole body stiffened. 2 Chicago police officers stepped into view at the far end of the hall. One was already looking at my door camera mounted outside. Then at Bree and Derek. Then at my door like he was putting together a puzzle with pieces he didn't like. Bree instantly shifted into performance mode. She lifted her hands and started crying. Thank God. Officer, she's inside and she's not well. We're trying to help her. The officer held up a hand. Ma'am, stop talking for a second. Sir, what's your name? Derek cleared his throat. Derek Caldwell. Relationship to the resident? She's my mom. The officer nodded once and asked, Do you live here? Derek hesitated. No, but... No, the officer repeated firm. Then you don't get to try her lock. Step back. Bree sputtered, He has a key. The other officer glanced at Bree. Ma'am, did you just say he tried to use a key to enter a residence he does not live in? Bree blinked fast. He's family. Anyton. The officer's expression didn't change. Family doesn't override locks. I let out a shaky breath and opened my door, just a crack chain on, deadbolt on. I stayed behind it, peering through the gap. The officer looked at my cheek, still bruised, and his gaze sharpened. Ma'am, are you Sharon Caldwell? Yes. Are you okay? I'm safe, I said, because I didn't open the door. Marcus stepped into the edge of the doorway, visible now. He held up his phone. Officer, I'm Marcus Ellison. We have video and documents. There has been a disputed signature on a contract, an attempted lock change, mail forwarding, and threats of guardianship. Bree snapped. He's lying. She's lying. They're trying to destroy us. The officer looked at Bree. Ma'am, step away from the door. Bree didn't move fast enough. The officer repeated it with a little more steel, and Bree finally stepped back, wiping at tears that didn't make her look innocent anymore, just desperate. The officer asked me, Did you ask them to come here tonight? No, I said. I texted Derek that his key is revoked and he is not to come to my condo. Marcus held his Samsung out. We have that text. The officer nodded. Do you want them trespassed from your property? My stomach clenched. Saying yes out loud felt like snapping a cord that had been tied to my body for 32 years. But Derek was standing there with a key and a folder labeled guardianship, and Bree was smirking through tears like she still thought she could win by framing me as weak. So I didn't hesitate. Yes, I said. Derek's face crumpled. Mom. The officer held up a hand toward Derek. Sir, you've been told to leave. If you return tonight, you will be arrested for trespass. Bree scoffed. This is unbelievable. The officer looked at Bree. Ma'am, if you're with him, you leave too. End quote. Bree's eyes narrowed into that sharp, hateful look. Fine. But she couldn't resist one last jab. She lifted her chin and said, You're going to die alone in there. It was quiet enough that the officers might not have caught it. But I did. And the weirdest thing happened. Instead of pain, I felt relief. Because when someone finally says the ugliest thing out loud, you stop wondering if you imagined it. I looked at her and said, calm as ice, at least I'll die in my own home. It was. Bree flinched like I slapped her with words. Derek stood frozen, eyes wet, mouth opening and closing like he wanted to say something meaningful and couldn't find it. The officers walked them to the elevator. Bree kept looking back like she expected me to break and chase my son down the hall. I didn't move. When the elevator doors shut, my knees finally went weak, and I had to grip the door frame. Marcus touched my shoulder lightly. You did it. I feel sick, I whispered. Good, he said. That means you still have a conscience. They don't. Cold line 1. A conscience is not a leash. We closed my door, locked every lock, and Marcus immediately said, Now, we capture the folder. The folder? I asked. He looked at me. Derek brought it here. That means it exists. That means we can get a copy. How? Marcus tilted his head. We already have their texts. And we have the locksmith photo referencing power of attorney attached. Now we get the next receipt. Hiss gasped. My phone buzzed, because of course it did. A text from Derek. Mom, please don't do this. Bree's dad said the court will listen to us. He said you can't stop it. I stared at it, throat tight. Marcus held out his hand. Screenshot. Send to me. Receipt number 1 in this part. Derek texting that they're involving the court, time-stamped minutes after being trespassed. I sawned it. Then another text came in from Bree. Enjoy your little victory. We already filed. Already filed? Marcus's expression didn't change, but his eyes sharpened. Okay, tomorrow morning, we verify. We don't take threats as truth. We take them as a map. Hal called from downstairs, breathless. They're in the lobby. Bree's trying to talk to the desk again. Marcus said, Put the desk on speaker. A muffled voice came through my night attendant, tense. They're saying they're family and they need to pick up medication from her unit. Medication? I don't even keep medication in my unit besides ibuprofen. Marcus's voice went firm. Do not let them up. Chicago PD is already involved. They've been instructed to leave. The attendant exhaled hard. Understood. Hal's voice cut in. And I'm standing right here. They're not going anywhere near the elevator. I felt a rush of gratitude so sharp it almost hurt. Mini twist. Bree tried to re-enter using a fake medication story even after police. The entitlement was endless. Marcus looked at me. Do you have your laptop? I do, I said, voice hoarse. Get it, he said. We're pulling your credit reports and freezing them tonight. So yeah, at 1 a.m, bruised cheek, broken glasses on my counter, I sat at my dining table with Marcus beside me like a stern teacher, and I froze my credit with all 3 bureaus. It felt surreal, like I'd been dropped into someone else's crisis. Then another email hit my inbox while we were doing it. Wells Fargo new external transfer added. My stomach dropped. Marcus. He took my phone, eyes scanning fast. You don't bank with Wells Fargo directly, but you have statements. Someone may have used your info to create access. I whispered. Can they open accounts in my name? They can try, he said. And now you've frozen your credit, so that door is closing. Receipt number 2. The credit freeze confirmation emails, screenshots, timestamped. Marcus had me screenshot each confirmation page and save them into a folder labeled evidence, because he is the kind of man who names folders like a person who wins. Then he said, "Now, we document the door attempt." We sat and watched the door camera footage again. Bree trying my handle, Derek using my key, the police arriving. Marcus saved it, backed it up, and emailed it to himself, to me, and to a secure folder. "You're building a wall," he said. "Not with bricks, with proof." A quote. Cold line 2. Proof is a door you can lock from the inside. The next morning, after maybe 2 hours of sleep, we went straight to the Chicago Police District office nearest me. My cheek was fully bruised now, purple at the edge, like a warning flag on my face. We filed a report. I handed over the video clips, the locksmith photo, the USPS change of address confirmation, the HOA email update notice, Bree's texts, the unknown number threat about declaring me incompetent. The officer taking the report didn't look shocked. He looked annoyed, like he'd seen this kind of thing too many times. He said, "Elder exploitation is real, ma'am. People assume age equals easy." I nodded, throat tight. Marcus asked, "Can we add the attempted lock change as a separate incident?" The officer nodded. "We'll note it. We'll request the building's incident notes, too. Report number in hand." Paper trail started. Receipt number 3. The police report paperwork with the incident number. Then Marcus took me to the Cook County Courthouse clerk's website with his phone in hand, standing right there on the sidewalk like he couldn't wait another second. He searched my name. He searched my address. He searched Derek's. At first, nothing showed. Then mini twist. Marcus searched Bree's dad's name, because Marcus thinks like a chess player, not like a mom. And there it was. A filing entry? Not finalized yet, but initiated. A petition with my name on it. My stomach turned. Marcus's face hardened. "Okay, now we respond." He didn't say it like a threat. He said it like a plan. We went back to his office in the Loop. He printed everything. He made copies. He lined them up on a table like a timeline of betrayal. Door, camera clip, locksmith authorization photo, USPS confirmation, HOA update email, Zelle, $4,500, request screenshot, venue guarantee dispute notice, Bree's text calling me unfit, unknown number threatening guardianship, and then, right there, like the universe wanted to hand me the final tool, we found the weapon Marcus had been hunting for. Because when Hal returned to my condo to grab a few more things for me, my spare keys, a couple personal documents, he found something wedged behind my printer in the office corner. An envelope. Not mine. He brought it to Marcus like he was delivering a snake in a box. Inside were printed drafts. Copies. A checklist. At the top of the checklist, bold letters. Guardianship packet next steps. My hands went numb. They were making a packet. Marcus scanned it, eyes moving fast. They were building an argument, claims, talking points, confusion, financial mismanagement, unsafe living. I felt nauseated. Unsafe living, Bree's favorite word. Then Marcus flipped to the back page, and his finger froze. Because stapled to the packet was a photocopy of my actual signature lifted from an old HOA form I'd signed years ago. There it was, the clean signature they could paste onto anything. I stared at it until my eyes burned. Marcus looked at me and said, "This is intent, Shay. It's not just talk, it's preparation." Cold line 3. A plan on paper is a plan in motion. Receipt number 4. The guardianship packet checklist and the photocopied signature page Hal found. Marcus made scans immediately. He photographed it with his Samsung in case the scanner jammed. He emailed it to himself. He printed 3 copies. Then he picked up his phone and called the attorney he'd mentioned the night before. Not a family friend, not someone who kind of knows. A real attorney who sounded like she'd eaten nonsense for breakfast and still had room for more. Within hours, we had a response, filed an objection, a request for dismissal, and a request for protective measures based on evidence of fraud and coercion. I didn't understand every legal word. I didn't need to. I understood the feeling. My life was no longer being written by people who wanted my condo more than my well-being. That afternoon, Marcus did something else that felt like a turning point. He took me to Chase in person. Not because we couldn't do it online, but because he wanted a human record. He spoke to a branch manager, explained the situation, provided the police report number, and had my account flagged for suspected exploitation. The branch manager's face went tight when she saw the screenshots and the repeated Zelle transfers. "We'll put extra protections in place," she said. I felt a weird, shaky relief, like my money finally had guards. Cold line 4. If they can't reach your wallet, they can't reach your throat. Derek tried calling that evening. I didn't answer. Then he left a voicemail. Long, wobbly, full of, "Mom, please," and "You're overreacting," and "Bree's parents are furious," and "You're ruining our life." I saved it, because even his voice became a receipt. Bree, on the other hand, sent one last text that told me everything about her. "If you drop the police report, we'll drop the petition." There it was. The trade offer. "Confess that you were wrong, and we'll stop trying to own you." Marcus read it and nodded once. That text is gold. Receipt number 5. Bree offering a quid pro quo, "Drop the report, they'll drop the petition." I stared at it and felt something settle in my bones. She wasn't asking for reconciliation. She was negotiating consequences. I didn't respond. 2 days later, the petition didn't go anywhere. Because the court doesn't love games when you show up with time-stamped video, a locksmith's photo, a police report, and a packet titled "Next Steps" with your signature photocopied like a craft project. Their story couldn't survive daylight. Derek didn't come by again. Not after the trespass warning. Not after Marcus sent the formal notice that his key was revoked and any attempt to enter would be reported. Hal helped me change my locks anyway. New deadbolt, new keys, no spares floating around in family pockets. Tessa came over that weekend with groceries and a big hug that made me cry for the first time since the slap, because crying with Tessa didn't feel like losing. It felt like releasing. She looked at my bruised cheek and whispered, "I'm so sorry." I exhaled. Me too. But here's the truth. The cold satisfaction didn't come from seeing Bree angry or Derek embarrassed. It came from sleeping in my bed, in my home, with my locks changed, my accounts secured, my mail protected, and my name back in my own hands. That's what they tried to steal. Not just my condo, my agency, and they lost it the moment they started thinking I was too old to fight. Cold line 5. You can't declare me incompetent when I'm the only one paying attention. Months later, I heard through the grapevine that Bree told people I went crazy and turned on them. She had to say that. That story is the only way she can live with what she did. Derek didn't apologize, not really. He sent one text that said, "I hope you're happy." I stared at it for a long time before I typed back the only honest thing I could say. "I'm safe." Then I blocked him, because love without respect isn't love. It's a trap. And no, I don't know what happens to their marriage long term. I'm not inside their house. I'm not inside their heads. But I know this. The minute the money stopped, the warmth stopped too. Funny how that works. If you love karma stories where the receipts do the talking and the truth finally wins, hit subscribe and stick with me, because I've got more.